variety of ways. Yeah, and I would say that another element, I'm dashing over some others, one of the things that we're capable of doing when we read is to start to see people and events as more than what they are. And I would call this representational or symbolic thinking. That we become quickly aware that things stand for more than what they are. And it may be in the pictures, it may be in the text, it may be in the movement in a play or something like that. And it happens to all of us, and even with very young children, that you could start to see. So one of our students last year was doing The Island, and the children very quickly began to see that in that book, which is a very powerful book about how a village deals with an outsider, is that the colouring in the book represented something more than its blueness. So these were 9 and 10-year-olds. Yeah? That children, and of all ages, all of us, we become aware that things mean more than they are. Of course, you know, as we sit there and discuss Shakespeare, we might say that, oh, well, Toby Belch is a representative of the defunct gentry. Yes? Or whatever. We might say that. But also, children are doing it as well. They're seeing, and it's quite an interesting area to get into with them, that there are symbolic ways of writing that focus on it. And that's another crucial one. Yeah? Okay, I'm going to stop there for the moment. Has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask about any of that? As I say, it's 11:04, and I think I'm supposed to stop. Yes, Maggie's nodding. Maggie is my police.
We've got a question, Michael.
Sorry, we have a question.
Here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask if you could influence the government.
Yes.
Would you try to improve assessment or get rid of all assessment altogether? And the same with the national curriculum. Would you try to improve it, or would you want to get rid of it, have no national curriculum? Which would you prefer?
My view is generally that a national curriculum should be about 3 lines long. And that what you have instead are a set of documents produced rather as was the language in the national curriculum process that some of us who are old enough to remember, which was they worked on what they called the cascade system, but the idea was that there were grassroots, regional and local meetings which produced huge portfolios of work, which then went through to higher, if you like, areas, and the idea was that various kinds of policies would emerge out of a national discussion about ways to write, talking, writing, reading and listening, the 4 aspects. That was the great project. They spent 20 million on it, and then as it got a bit threatening, they jumped it, the whole lot. And all that's left are about 2 or 3 rather abstract documents by very good people, a man called Ronald Carter, and that's just about it. Am I right, Teresa? I think that's right. It's a tragedy because it harnessed your collective wisdoms. I mean, it was. I attended several in Tower Hamlets. It was stunning. People were bringing in vast portfolios of work, laying them out on the floor. You know, emergent reading, that phrase was a phrase that came out of there. Or emergent writing. People were saying, look, this child is not writing. This child is doing some stuff that is enabling them to write. So there wasn't this idea that one day you're not a writer and the next day, oh look, I can do my letters. There was all this other stuff, and all sorts of things emerged that came out, of course, practice and observation. So that would be my sort of one reply to you. I think it is possible for some, I wouldn't necessarily call them policies, maybe they would call them guidelines or something like that, but, and also assessment is quite possible to do formative assessment. The problem is we're being hamstrung by summative assessment. So summative assessment's the stuff you do at the end, whatever it is, however the end is defined. Yeah? So if the end is at the end of Key Stage 2, or if it's at the end of Key Stage 4, whatever it is, so at the end you sum up, that's why it's called summative, what it is you've learned. In actual fact, as we know, most of the exams are full of all sorts of trick questions. They certainly are. My daughter's GCSE, some of the questions were just purely in order to trick the student. So what is that summing up? It's not summing up anything. It's just going, no. I mean, it isn't really much more profound than that. And it's saying, oh, well, some of them got it right, but they may have got it right by luck. Again, my daughter pointed out some of the maths questions, She said, well, you could get some of them by luck, even if you did show the working. Anyway, there you go. So, I think the only time you probably need summative assessment actually is at the age of 18. I really do. I think almost all the rest will be abolished. And certainly the exams at 16, they are totally unnecessary. And instead we've got hamstrung with this kind of crazy grade obsession. It's like an obsessive compulsive disorder. We can distinguish between 9 and 8 in maths and English, which is micro distinction between whether the kids have got 80% or 79%. And the 80% ones are going to be 9, and the 79% are not as good, so they're 8. This is going to be really useful for... It's incredible. And meanwhile, below the line, wherever that line is, right, are thousands of kids, hundreds of thousands of kids who are just like, well, they're just, well, what are they? They're just rubbish, following. It's incredible, absolutely incredible, and they're obsessed over this stuff, right? And the SATs, you know, again, it's totally unnecessary. You could do formative assessment in schools by teachers they could be moderated, you know, they're not afraid of, after all, creating vast boards of Ofsted inspectors and regional school commissioners and all the rest of it. So things can be moderated and there could be formative assessment going on. And remember also that a lot of these exams are fiddled. You know, when you take a driving lesson, right, you've got a little checklist. The checklist says, I've done it, my 3-point term. Now imagine you do your driving test, you tick all the stuff, and the driving inspector says, very good, but I can't actually pass you until it goes to them up there, right? And then it goes up there, and you get a letter back going, no, you failed. And the reason why you failed is because they can only pass 20% that year. That's what goes on in a large amount of the high-stakes testing. It's what's called norm referencing, as opposed to criterion referencing. So sometimes it's an amalgamation of the two, but the point is we're hamstrung by norm referencing. So for example, I don't know if you know, but the GCSE, the drama pass mark, right, is completely different from the maths and the English pass mark. That's because English and maths are harder than drama. Are they? I've never noticed that, but that's what they say. So, you know, the maths pass mark was 20%. The drama pass mark this time round was something like 70 or 80%. Yes? Completely fiddled. It's just a straight fiddle. Maggie taught drama for 20 years. Didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Is it easy?
Theo and I wouldn't say so.
No. All my kids have done drama at various times, and always mysteriously they got B's. I mean, I'm not, but they got a B, and I would think, how could you do better? I remember watching the presentation of my son doing A-level drama, doing Oedipus Rex. I must have been like, God, that's just, wow. Actually, it was worse than that, because while he was doing it, I was going, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't get off with that. Don't. It's not going to end well. I said, don't, please, my son, don't do it. He did. Interpretation. It's outrageous.
Michael, shall we next year do a conference on assessment then?
No, drama.
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 Can I thank Michael Rosen?
Sorry, I pressed something.
And don't forget, if you want to read more about that story he told about his other brother, don't forget the first volume of his autobiography.
Yes, that's right. It's just discovered. It's being reviewed very nicely in The Guardian today. I've just got it.
And Michael will be doing an event at Goldsmiths, which will be early evening in November, based on this book, so keep your eye open for that. Now, I'm afraid we're going to have to keep to time.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, folks.
blame Michael. Quick to coffee and then up to the workshops wherever you are, and we'll be starting the workshops on time. Thank you, Michael.